This all started about a week ago. While searching around for another video, I fell upon an account known as Voychan. Little did I know, this one account would send me into a massive rabbit hole. Who is Voychan? This is a rather weird question. Depending on who you ask, Voychan, from an outside perspective was a mini influencer who kickstarted the weird core and creepy pink aesthetic, but very little have yet to credit her for this. They were mostly found on Tumblr and Instagram, where they grew a very small cult fanbase, which was mostly filled with edgy teenagers. They would post fit checks and aesthetic pictures and people loved it. But then barely 2 years into their socials, allegations started to drop. This all really started when somebody found a whole bunch of liked posts that related to neo-Nazi and racist beliefs. And also a few screenshots from a group chat came through which showed her severely hating on somebody who was copying her, which was very convoluted. I'm not going to say anything about it because it was just it's the closest thing you can compare it to is teenage drama. And after these allegations fell, she completely disappeared off the face of the net. Only thing you can find of her is an edit made and an archive. I thought it ended at that. I thought it was just some edgy teenager who was posting on social media, who then got outed and then disappeared off the web. Well, after searching around on Pinterest for a little bit, because I thought maybe I would find something there, I found a name, Nia Beat. I had no idea why this was even remotely related, but after digging and digging, I found nothing about this username. And then an account popped up, known as Hello Kitty Razorblade, which had full collective archives of Nia Beat, which was insane. And with no knowledge of who Nia Beat was, I started searching through this. Something very apparent showed up quickly. It was almost identical to Voychan's story. Edgy teenager, also into the alternative aesthetic, gets outed for neo-Nazi and racist beliefs. But what truly happened here? Looking through the archive, it seems to show that Nia Beat had an Instagram and a Twitter. These weren't connected that much. The Instagram posted the aesthetic alternative pictures, as the Twitter was liking these super racist tweets and reposting them and posting her own, which was very strange. It also seemed that she was very into pro-anorexia and eating disorders, which is very important for later on. Remember that. And there was this very specific creator she would like and repost over and over again. And they went by two names, Sonia and Mia. Remember that. That was all I could really find from this archive. Nia just disappeared off the internet. After posting a whole bunch of stories, she deleted her accounts, and there's still some archives up today that show what she did post before she disappeared. It's really not that interesting. But I looked through more of the archives. While searching, I thought, this can't go that much deeper, right? Like, that's it. It's two edgy teenagers who had similar stories. That was not the end of it. While looking through, I decided, you know what? Let's click on a random archive. Let's see what we get. I found something called Caliac Junk 2. Little did I know, I had just stumbled upon an anorexia cult. Stumbling upon this was wild, because the same account that had just posted a Nia Beat archive was also archiving some form of cult. And looking through it, I found a set of rules. A set of rules that Nia Beat had also posted. What did this all mean? Why am I finding this? And eventually it started to make sense. Nia Beat and this cult were connected somehow. And this begs the question again. What had I just found? Why was any of this even related and how? I kept searching only to find more and more posts by this Mia and Sonia person again, which I assumed was this girl in the background, which would be very wrong later. Caliac from a surface level seemed like a pro-health community with some intriguing people in it. But sometimes, if you have to specify you're not a cult, you are a cult. But after being still very suspicious about all of this, I moved to the next one, which showed Caliac's website, which is still up to this day. And this proved everything. Weird images of this one girl who I still can't recognize and have no idea who is, and some sort of eulogies, and links to sources of Hindu and Indian beliefs. It all made sense, but how did this relate to Nia and Void? The next archive was inside Caliac, which showed lots and lots of edgy teenager texts with lots of slurs and straight edge. What did that just say? What the fuck? Nia Beat, from what I can gather right now, was set up by an anorexia cult to benefit themselves. This led further into the cult, where they would brag about exploiting children and bullying anybody above a 16 BMI. And this leader, who has repeatedly changed their name from Sonia to Mia and other words, they would post insanely radical beliefs, which ranged from grape to racism and eating disorders and some even worse topics I don't even think I can discuss on YouTube. It wasn't really hard to find that this cult was being ran by a dude, and almost all of the top 3 in command were also dudes who would exploit their members into doing really horrific things to their bodies. Just reading through the rules that Mia or Sonia had for their girls, you could say, are absolutely horrific. I'm just gonna show an example here. Number 3, write my name somewhere on your body every morning. You don't need to show me a photo, I expect it. Propaganda was a huge part of this cult. They had a tendency to release it through its members, and with its main recruiter being a guy named Kurabu, who would message people asking about their BMI and how old they were, and essentially soft launch the invite to the cult. And what a shocker, this guy was also known to exploit children. Now, why would anybody even want to join this? If a random dude messaged you online and called you cute, asked your age, asked for your BMI, and sent you a Discord invite, why would you join? My personal theory about this is purely because they targeted people who were either already vulnerable, already in a bad place in life, and it was COVID. Everybody was stuck inside. Nobody really had anything to do. So finding a community was essential for some people. This community just decided to exploit its members, and it was awful. Now, to the actual propaganda that was released. A lot of it is just strange. Like, we have a couple asking about if it's compatible with Christianity. We have some asking, what does the future look like? Some about books or the info on Hyperborea, whatever that means. And a lot of it is, imagine the Sigma accounts you see on Instagram. And you know, like, the mogging and that stuff. Basically, this cult would post that, but for females. And it is just, again, all very strange. They would specifically ask for people with a BMI range of 18 to 23, and they would say, just because someone is skinny does not mean they have an ED, and then thin shaming is a true thing. They would just spin the blame back on the people trying to expose them for being, you know, pedophiles. But what happened to this cult afterwards? I do not know if there was a outing of some sort, but from what I can gather with my very limited data I have about this cult, it seems like the archive account I'm using is essentially a re-upload of an old archive who fell for the propaganda of the cult, apparently. I don't know the full situation on that. They have an archive for it. I'll throw some things on screen. Maybe somebody else can try to figure it out. I don't quite get it. But afterwards, this cult seems to have just disintegrated. Because you can't find anything about it. You can't find Discord servers. You can't find Twitter accounts. You can still find people who are trying to revive Kaliak through Twitter, or have it in their bio, or some sort of tag on their posts. And it's just strange how they just disappeared. I don't know if authorities were contacted, which is the hopeful option. And all I can find right now is that they broke up into these splinter groups. And this main one is associated to something called Miladies, which is a crypto / NFT like group. And after looking a little bit deeper, I found Mia and Sonya, who now goes by Charlotte Fang, who just posts this extremely schizo crypto NFT stuff, which is just, it's just so strange. Everything here is strange. But apparently, Charlotte had stepped down. After Miladies was called out, and Mia was figured out to be Sonya, Charlotte Fang, all of it is connected. They got called out, they stepped down. But this Milady group still exists, just on a different basis, in a different belief, with a different leader. I do not know if they are still exploiting children, and if they are still committing these absolutely devious acts. And I hope, if they are, that people can get out of it, and that the authorities are eventually called on these miserable people. Now, remember Nia and Void. I do not know what happened to Void, but one thing that I am thinking and am theorizing is that Void was involved in this too. If not directly, was involved in some form of Splinter group. I cannot confirm this, but just some facts don't add up about Void's case. In the archive, it claims that she likes neo-Nazi stuff, but then posts a picture of communist propaganda on their wall. That doesn't make sense. And also, it shows them following communist accounts, not neo-Nazi accounts. This may be the craziest airball ever, but I believe Void was being used the same way Nia was. And again, I have no proof to back that up, but there is a very slight chance. It would just make a little bit of sense. The reason why Void disappeared and never came back. Especially if they were able to get away, that's good. But Nia came back through and posted a whole bunch of stories explaining the situation, saying that they were being exploited and used by this group. But I just hope that Nia is better today. That's all anybody can hope. Nia never came out about the racist remarks, but did come out about how they were being used and forced to like this stuff. So I just really hope Nia is in a better place now, same with Void. And I do not promote going looking for these people, especially if they're done with social media. I just happened to stumble upon it. Don't do what I did. That is really all the information I have right now. If anything comes out and y'all want me to make a follow-up video, I will so gladly do that. And if you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you, and it would be much appreciated if you could like and subscribe. But that's really it. Thank you.